Hi everybody, I'm JT. Welcome to another video from me here at Campervan Journey, where I'm going to tell you our favourite and not so favourite things about the Grand California that we've just been using for a trip away to Wales. So welcome to another video from me here at Campervan Journey. In this particular video I just wanted to give some feedback from the time that we've spent over the last few days with this Volkswagen Grand California 600, just to see whether it could be the right van for us. Now, some of you may know, if you've been following the channel for a while, we are owners of a Volkswagen California T6. It's our second Volkswagen camper van that we've owned. We've owned these vans in total now for 8ish years. We've been considering our options to replace a van in the very near future. We have a short list of favourites that always tend to come back round to, really, I guess there's probably 3 or 4 main contenders. We have a really strong affinity with the Volkswagen brand, so naturally Grand California is a logical step for us to move from our current California to the next one. The key things that we want to achieve are something that's more self-contained, but we still want a van that's going to enable us to arrive, set up and enjoy as a base for camping, but also to travel longer trips for a bit more comfort. So a bit more space, the wet room, all of those things have a big appeal. We've test driven various vans. We had a Grand California on test drive a few months ago, but we've now got to the point where we're getting close to making a decision as to what we want to buy to replace our current van. But it's a big investment. It's an awful lot of money to spend, and we don't want to make the wrong choice. Volkswagen offer the facility to rent a van, which is what we've done. So we've rented a van with our own money, not being given us for free. This is a decision that we've made ourselves to get a proper evaluation of this Grand California to establish whether it could be the right van for us to replace ours. Now, we still haven't made a definitive decision because we need to try a couple of the other competitors before we do that. But I just thought I'd give you some feedback of some of the great things that we've liked about this van and some of the not so great things. So let me start off with the not so great things. So forgive me, I've written them down because there's a few things to try and remember. I wanted to try and give you an honest and objective review of this van. And this is feedback and thoughts from all of us as a family. So Claire, myself and Harry. So we've had a few days, we've done 500 miles in it. So I'd like to think that we've given it a fair test. Not as comprehensive as a 2-week trip around Europe, but you're never going to get the opportunity to do that. We were purely off-grid in our location choices. So we didn't use campsites, we've had no hookup. We just used park-ups to try and use the van in its true standalone capacity. So number one, I don't know if you can see this behind me, but this is the kitchen unit, and the fridge on the Grand California is mounted in the end of this unit, and the actual access is done through lifting a hatch at the front. The unit slides out, but you can see it's very, very deep. And I guess my point is, does it really need to be that big? Because all of that depth reaches in to the cupboard space. You've got no space for proper space for any drawers. So there's a couple of drawers on the end here. But whilst they're a reasonable depth and they're very nicely built, they're not a great shape for storing your crockery, your plates, your cups. Whilst it was great to have a large, big fridge, I think it's ended up wasting a lot of space that's probably more valuable to be used in other ways. So that leaves me on to number 2. So whilst the fridge itself is really nicely finished, it's very good quality materials. The drawers have got soft close, these catches are good, very little in the way of storage space. So what we found over the last few days of using the van is, you're making a cup of tea, where do you put your pot with your tea bags in? Where are you going to put your mug? Where are you going to put your kettle? Just all those little things that I'm sure in a little bit of time you will perhaps find homes for, but the logical place to put them would be in either additional cupboards under here, if you haven't got, because I think the fridge is too big, or some storage space either above here or some additional cupboard space and shelving down here. It's just, I'm a little bit surprised by, given the fact that it's Volkswagen, it's a quality product, it doesn't seem to be much thought into maximising the space and convenience with the kitchen cupboard layout. So, number 3. Now number 3 is, I'm going to call them airline locker latches. These lockers look great. They're again really nicely designed, very sleek, nicely finished. But these catches are hopeless. Sometimes they open, sometimes they don't. Here you go, the bottom one doesn't really open. There's a real knack to making them work. So even when we picked the van up, the gentleman from Breeze, the rental company, said there's a particular knack that you have to work at it, but they were still tricky, so you have to push them, release them, and they'll pull. And then when you push them back, they'll lock in. Sometimes they don't open at all. Sometimes they do open, but they take a bit of effort. One of them unlocked whilst we were driving along, so obviously we hadn't shut it properly, hadn't clicked. But whilst it looks really nice and sleek and well finished, I just think there must be a better solution for these catches. The push catches that we've got on the other cupboards, these ones, work great. You push them, click them, and they lock. So Volkswagen, why haven't you done something similar to that? It just doesn't make any sense. So you've taken a sleek design, it looks good. They're not the biggest lockers in the world, but they provided us with enough space for what we needed to store. But these catches are absolutely hopeless. So item number 3 on our not so great is the bed. Well, not so much the bed, but getting in and out of the bed. Now, if you know me or you've watched my videos before, you might have heard me reference the fact I'm not a tall chap, but I'm not super short. I'm 5'8"-ish, and getting in and out of this bed is tricky. The reason being is that there's no step. It's difficult to jump up on, and without using a little step, then you can't get up easily. So we've seen vans off this layout, and a lot of them have a step incorporated. Now you might say if there's a step there, it's in the way, but you know, there are ways and means of dealing with that. We were prepared for that and brought a little collapsible fold-up step to use. You're not an expensive purchase, but when you use it and you pop it down on the floor here to enable you to stand on, it then is in the way of the bathroom door. So whilst it's a really, really silly thing, if you can imagine the situation when you get to a certain age and you want to get up and have a wee in the middle of the night, you want to use the step. The step's not there because you've moved it because it's in the way of the cupboard door. You put the step down, you pop into the wet room, come out of the wet room, you can't open the door properly because the step's in the way. So it's just a little niggle, a little inconvenience to get something that I just think is a bit silly, a bit of an oversight, and just something that you would think that Volkswagen would have thought a little bit better about in the design. And then finally, on our list of little niggles, things that aren't so great with the Grand California, I'm just going to sum this up by saying storage, storage, storage. One of the big things that we want to try and achieve by going to a bigger van is to have more storage, more organised storage. And there is storage in this van, don't get me wrong, but there's nowhere near as much, having lived with the van for a few days, as I thought there would be. We've already talked about the kitchen storage and the lack of additional drawers, or the size of the drawers not being up to much. For oddment storage around the van, there are a few little... There's a couple of cubbies up here which are quite deep. There's a couple down the bottom. But, you know, there's nothing, doesn't appear to be anything under the seat here because the boiler's under there. There's no drawers under here. Some vans have sections and panels on the floor that you can lift up to hide things away. There's not as much dashboard, integrated dashboard storage, some would say, as in our T6. Yes, there's the drawers or bins along the top of the dash, but you don't want to leave your stuff rattling around on the top for all to view. You want secure storage so you can hide or keep things away. These bins up here, whilst they're okay, again, they're not huge. You can't really store things in the top area because there's no means of securing it effectively. The cupboard storage underneath here in the garage area, again, we just didn't really find that it worked very well for us in terms of trying to access. Your fire cupboard is for the gas bottles, and these two cupboards, once you've got the bed down, you can't get in and out of them very easily. If you've got the bed up, then again it compromises getting in to the overhead lockers. So you've really got to think about where you need to get and when you need to get it as you're working your way around and just doing things. And I don't think you should have to do that. So I think that with the facilities that Volkswagen have provided, they're making it more complicated than it needs to be. So it was a bit of a disappointment that the storage, living with it for a few days, hasn't been better. I think it's been designed to look good aesthetically, but the practicality isn't what it could be. Finally, for a van that is a lot bigger physically than a Volkswagen California, I don't own a California Ocean, but I can't imagine that in many ways the storage, because I know the storage in the Ocean is very clever, the storage in this van I don't think is that much greater in many ways than it is in an Ocean. And that would be very interesting to hear feedback in the comments from anybody who's experienced both. Okay, so that's personal take, personal feedback, and I know that everybody will take a different view, and I know that lots of people have come up with some hacks and modifications and adaptations, putting storage nets or baskets or whatever on to enhance things, but I think that it could be a lot better from the get-go. That's enough of the downsides. Let me tell you about some of the things that we think are great. So number one, this van, for a big van, a big tall van, a heavy van, drives really, really well. In many ways, I think that actually it drives better than our California T6. And it's a 3.5 ton van. It's got a massive frontal area, so with the tall roof, so wind resistance is one of the last things that it's thinking about. But it was smooth, it was steady. Out of the 400 miles we've done, probably 250 of those have been on motorways. A lot of 100 plus have been on narrow winding lanes around the Gower Peninsula, which are very similar to some of the Cornish lanes. So we've driven it in all different circumstances, and each one is excelled. It drives well, it feels planted, it feels secure. The fuel consumption has been a revelation. I don't know if it's the 8-speed gearbox, but I haven't been driving rapidly because you wouldn't in a van like this. But in that sort of journey, we've been getting the fuel consumption after the 500 miles we've done is reading at 32.5 miles per gallon. Now, on a similar journeys in our California, we probably would have got 37 to 38. So to be, what are we, 15%-ish down on that, I think is a real result. So that's a big thumbs up, because you expect a van like this to cost more to run. It's got a bigger tank, it's heavier, but you know, fuel economy is still important. So to get that sort of figure back, I think is brilliant. So big well done to Volkswagen on that one. The second thing is the beds. We've been really impressed with the beds in this. So very comfortable. It's been great to just be able to get into bed at the end of the day, easily fold the mattress. The combination of the special springs in the mattress base and the foam mattress topper, both Claire and I slept really well. The loft bed, Harry found comfortable. Probably the biggest restriction was the headroom height, but he said that actually it was more comfortable than he thought. The thickness of the mattress was good. There's wooden slats underneath, so again, that was, he slept well. He just had to get used to the fact that there wasn't a huge amount of headroom above his head in the fixed roof canopy on the California 600. So number 3 on the list is the overall quality in the van itself. Now I know I've talked about some niggles, but they're design niggles. They are things that really should have been thought out, in my opinion, and designed a little bit better to do the job that they're being asked to do. The general fit and finish in this van is just as good as I would have expected from a Volkswagen Golf or a passenger car. We've had no significant issues apart from, you're going to laugh, the step. The powered step is the only thing that has played up on a few occasions, just not coming out when it should come out. We've had to do the blue plug reset once, but the fixture and quality of the fittings, the way it's all screwed together, the plastics is really top notch. And I think that for the amount of money you're spending on this van, it's got to feel like it's well finished, and this certainly does that. So, and that's why it becomes a little bit more niggly when you see some of the things in the design, like the catches on the lockers feel cheap, and everything else feels good. So they've utilised a poor quality design to achieve a job that it's not really appropriate to do. So number 4 is, we've really felt that we've been pretty self-sufficient over the last few days, thanks to an effective leisure battery setup with a roof mounted solar panel. Now yes, it's summer, yes the weather's been pretty good, but at no point, with the fridge on all the time and not being conscious about our energy usage, has the battery level dropped below 50%. We have been doing driving every day, and we have been parked in locations where it's been possible to get solar if the sun's been shining. One of the concerns that I thought we might have about whether we could be self-sufficient and be off-grid for 2 or 3 days were completely unfounded. We've had no issue at all, and that's been really impressive. So again, taking away one of those worries that am I going to run out of power? Am I going to need to find someone with hookup? I don't want to be thinking about that. I don't want to worry about that. I think that if you could have a larger solar panel, or utilize the solar panel with a lithium battery setup just to give you longer power gain, then that would be an even better thing. But the information that we were receiving, and I know again it can be a little bit erratic having read some of the forum reports, the information on the control center panel was good, was accurate, and seemed to tell us what we needed to know. So a thumbs up for the solar and the battery system in this van. One of the other things that we really liked, and I'm sure it features on some of the other manufacturers as well, is the design and finish of the blinds. So having these integrated fly screens and blackout blinds has been a really nice thing to have. Even the ones in the roof. So last night we slept with the roof hatch open, the mosquito blind across, so with the benefit of nice fresh air whilst we were sleeping, but yeah, no bugs coming in with the integrated blind. It's those design details that really make a difference. So where does that leave us with our decision with what van we might buy next? Well, the honest answer is we haven't made a decision yet, but what we do know is that renting this van for a few days for a few £100 has made a massive difference to our decision making process. I know that there are choices that we would have made if we hadn't done this that would have been choices we would have regretted. So if you are considering spending a very large amount of money on something like this, whether it's a Grand California or anything else, and you get the opportunity to do a proper try before you buy and rent like we did, if it's with Volkswagen, I'm sure that other people do a similar thing, I would absolutely recommend it, because it could save you an awful lot of money. Well, I hope you found this video interesting. Sorry if it's been a bit of a ramble about the things that we thought were good, the things that we thought were not bad but not so good. Be really interested to hear any comments or queries below. Just drop me a line. I'll read everything and we'll try and come back to you. If you've got any questions or queries at all, I'd love to hear from you. If you've got any suggestions about anything that we've missed, or any, well, did you try this, JT? Then I'd love to hear back from you. But thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot. Please give us the thumbs up, hit subscribe, and stay tuned for another video from us on Campervan Journey very soon. One day we will make a decision about what van we're going to buy next. Thanks for watching.